is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Matt Sharp, and I'll be hosting today's presentation. I'm going to kick off this webinar with a poll question to get us started, so please take a moment and respond to the question you see on the screen. All right, so it looks like most of you have not used or heard of the NEWA network. I'm going to share those on the screen now. All right, so today we are pleased to be joined by Dan Olmstead from Cornell University for this presentation on maximizing crop yields with actionable information utilizing NEWA and HOBO weather stations. Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the NEWA platform?
Hey, thanks, Matt. Appreciate being here. So the poll results are very interesting. So 83% of you said that you've never used NEWA. To give you a quick introduction, NEWA is short for the Network for Environment and Weather Applications at Cornell University. And we're based out of the New York State Integrated Pest Management Program in Geneva, New York. NEWA was created to Matt, there's a little bit of echo here. I'm not sure. Hang on a second, folks. Can you folks hear me?
Dan, are you using your like a speakerphone?
No, let me try one thing. Hang on.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but there's a little bit of feedback there.
Yeah, I'm getting some sort of echo.
Dan, you may want to mute the microphone on your computer, perhaps.
Okay. I will just go through this to keep in the interest of time. So as I mentioned, I am the Network for Environment Weather Applications Coordinator based out of Geneva. And we do online risk assessment tools for fruit and vegetable production in the Northeast United States and Upper Midwest. So go ahead and advance the slide.
So NEWA is a
nonprofit organization here at Cornell University. And like I said, the goal is to provide growers with real-time crop and disease forecast tools. The way that works is that we have a network of over 700 physical weather stations distributed across 14 U.S. states. And we're very excited because Onset joined our group this past spring, and we've already had quite a few of Onset customers join the network. Matt, can you proceed? So to give you a quick overview of what NEWA is, you can access our tools at newa.cornell.edu. It's really a partnership with the New York State Integrated Pest Management Program, and we also work closely with the Northeast Regional Climate Center at Cornell University. The real goal is to implement integrated pest management practices, which means not necessarily applying fewer pesticides, but using them wisely. So we look at things like plant epidemiology, insect, pests, and crop management. So again, NEWA's purpose is really to provide decision support real time for growers. At this time, we've got 15 plant disease tools, 11 insect technology tools, and 3 apple crop management tools. Matt, go ahead. To give you an example of how NEWA has impact among our growers, we recently finished a survey at the end of 2017. I think we had about 400 respondents, but when you look at the economic data, again, this is primarily among fruit producers, so apple and grape production, we save an average of $4,000 from reduced sprays. If we look at IPM implementation, we can save on a per farm basis around $33,000 annually. And so really using NEWA in combination with systems like Onset R3000 or MicroRX can really put money back in your pocket. So when we ask growers about the impact of NEWA, you can see by that graph in the center that really an overwhelming majority of people say it helps in all areas. And we have a couple of user stories that we like to tell where prior to using NEWA, apple growers really struggle with something like apple scab, and afterwards they're saving money, they're using their sprays more effectively, and so on and so forth. Matt, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Dan. And I do apologize for any of the feedback that you guys are hearing on that. We're trying to clean that up. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt Sharp, and my role here at Onset is to provide application support and consultation services for our HOBO weather stations. A little about me: I've been with Onset for just over 5 years, where I started in the technical support group, providing post-sales support for our HOBO and NTEMP hardware and software product lineups. Since then, I've moved over to the application team in February of 2019, so earlier this year. And now I think we're going to go on to our second poll question. And that question is, how many of you have used data loggers or are currently using data loggers? And I'll give you a moment to reply to that question. All right, so the results there, 63% are using our HOBO products, 25% are using data loggers but of another type, and 13 of you haven't used data loggers at all before, so I think you'll find some good information during this webinar. All right, so a little bit about Onset. Our company was founded here on Cape Cod, where we've been steadily growing as a world leader in data logging solutions for the past 38 years. All aspects of HOBO data loggers, from research and development, manufacturing, sales, and after-sales support, is conducted here at our headquarters in Bourne, Massachusetts. So why Onset? Our products are renowned for their reliability and research-grade performance at costs less than major competitors. We've released a new weather station that combines the expected ruggedness and performance with an easier to use design at a lower cost. The new logger, the MicroRX, is truly a plug-and-play data logger. We're also excited about our HOBOnet wireless sensors as an add-on option for the RX3000 NEWA weather station configuration. This solution provides you with an expansive mesh network of wireless sensors to monitor frost conditions throughout your fields, orchards, or vineyards. And I will go over these options a little bit later in the webinar, but for now I'm going to hand it back over to Dan to talk more about NEWA.
Great, thanks, Matt. So I just want to spend a few minutes talking about exactly what NEWA does and the types of products we offer to give you a better sense of how you can use the Onset setup with our tools. So this slide gives you a brief overview of all the different fruit and vegetable models we have available at this time if you go to newa.cornell.edu. Really the most popular ones are for apple diseases and insect management, followed by grape diseases. And you can see that breaks down in different ways. I would say if you're interested, definitely visit the website and explore those a little bit more. We do have some vegetable models available for use as well. I'd say those are more popular in New York and maybe New England than other places, but in terms of apple disease management, and some of our apple crop management tools. Those are popular throughout our geographic footprint, so all the way from North Carolina up through the New England states. So Mac, if you could advance. To give you a really brief overview of how we provide risk assessments, bear in mind that we have nearly 700 physical stations sending data to the NEWA servers in real time. So if you go to our website and you click on any one of those locations, you can access location-specific tools for any of those products in any of those locations. So here I just have a screenshot of one of our, again, more popular Apple disease management tools. This is flare blight, the bacterial disease, and the way it works, we pair up with a researcher or extension specialist here in the U.S., and that person really informs the nuts and bolts of how the information is delivered to you. So on any given date during the growing season, a grower can access this information and say, well, what is my risk level right now? I've got to balance labor and spray costs and fuel and all these things with what the best estimate of risk is. So in this screenshot here, we have 2 past days of risk assessment for flare blight, and then current refers to the current date of interest. And then you have the 5 days after that. Now, I want to point out that any of our models can be accessed historically. So you can go back to any date in the past as long as that station was active and kind of evaluate what the situation was. So if I want to go back to last year at this time to compare conditions, again, to get as much information as possible for making the best IPM practices and decisions possible, you can do that. In this particular model, we have wording along with color indications of what those risk levels are. And I won't go into the details of how these are calculated right now, but again, this is just an example of how models are set up on NEWA. So I encourage you all to explore the website further if you're interested for other disease and insect risk management models. Matt, go ahead.
Hey Dan, not to interrupt you, but a question came in and asking about the price of NEWA.
That is a great question. Yeah, so the way NEWA works, right now we have 14 member states in the eastern United States, and each one of those states has a NEWA coordinator. What that person does is work either through the local university system or with the grower association to pay an annual subscription fee. Once that fee is paid for the state, anybody in that state can join NEWA at no additional cost beyond purchasing your own weather station. Now, the slight caveat to that is that you can still access any of our current locations without having to do anything, but we really encourage purchase of a station on your farm, because when we talk about microclimates and even within an orchard or within a short radius around your farm, you can get quite a bit of variability in your temperature readings, for example. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thanks, Dan. That's great.
So to give you another type of example, we just looked at disease with fire blight. We also have insect models. We have apple insect models, we have a grape berry moth model, and then we have 2 vegetable insect models. They all work in a similar way. So the popular example here is codling moth. Again, this is an apple insect pest. But if you look on the right side of the screen, you're going to see a life cycle diagram. And usually with insect pests in agriculture, there's a very specific window of time when your pesticides are going to be effective, and so we call that the control window. What makes NEWA powerful is that we can calculate when that window of time is going to be, and we can then serve up on the website specific recommendations for what to do during those control windows. Insects are really great because you can reliably predict their development using heat unit accumulation or growing degree days. Each insect species has a different criteria and will proceed through development at different rates depending on what those temperatures are near your crop, which again, this is why it's important to have on-site environmental measurements for when you use NEWA. Okay, Matt?
All right, great. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it. And now we're going to move on to our next poll question. And I'd like to get an idea of what type of acreage you're currently managing. Again, I'll give you a few minutes to respond. A few moments to respond, not minutes. All right, great. So it looks like roughly half are users in the 10 acres or less, and then the remaining are between 10 to 100 and 20% over 100 acres. So that's going to drive us into the next portion of the presentation here, where we're going to talk more specifically about the weather stations and the two different weather station offerings we have here for the NEWA network offered by Onset. So the two different weather stations based on the type of user that we're kind of targeting here. Our MicroRX solution is designed for the smaller vineyards, orchards, or farms, or for a user looking for the most cost-effective and easy to set up option. The MicroRX can be fully deployed in as little as 30 minutes, thanks to its compact and lightweight design and the integrated solar panel. On the flip side of that, we have the RX 3000. And this is also suitable for any size operation and is also user-friendly to deploy. But what sets the RX 3000 apart from the MicroRX is the expansion and customizable features. The RX 3000 has Wi-Fi and Ethernet options. We also offer some modules, like analog module for third-party sensors, relay modules for basic control functions, an integrated water level and flow sensor for monitoring, primarily for those that need to monitor for water rights usage reporting, or for a user who wants to use the ability for more localized temperature or soil moisture, or even other measurement parameters with our HOBOnet wireless monitoring sensors. Both solutions share many of the same features. Both stations utilize the same smart sensor technology that easily plug into the respective units. Smart sensors do not need to be calibrated or programmed. They simply plug right in, and the weather station identifies the sensor type. All HOBO products are tested and extensively for their intended environment to ensure that you're receiving a product that will stand up to the harshest conditions. Inside both of these are an integrated LCD screen, and that'll notify the user of the number of sensors recognized by the station, the battery level, charging status, as well as the status of the last connection. And then both data loggers push the collected data to HOBOlink and NEWA. HOBOlink we haven't talked about, but HOBOlink is Onset's cloud-based application where the user can set up and manage alarm notifications. So I'm going to jump into some specifics about the new MicroRX, which you're seeing on the screen now. This logger has 5 dedicated plug-and-play smart sensor inputs for the required sensors from the NEWA network. Those sensors, just so you know, that you need to get on the NEWA network that are required are temperature and relative humidity, solar radiation, rainfall, wind speed and direction, and leaf wetness. And Dan, if you want to jump in there, I didn't miss anything there, did I?
Nope, those are the right ones.
All right, perfect. All right, so what we're seeing on the screen now is the inside of the MicroRX, and you're going to notice the LCD screen, which again shows the battery and charge status along with the connection status. Another feature inside is if there's an issue with your station, a fault code is going to be displayed on the LCD screen. which is going to allow our technical support team to easily diagnose the error and get you back up and running as fast as possible. One thing to note with our stations, since they are plug-and-play sensors, if you ever have an issue with, for example, your temperature and relative humidity sensor, something happened to it, that sensor can easily be replaced simply by unplugging, and then we can get you a new sensor overnighted to you. So you're really just one day out if you do have an issue with a sensor. On the screen, you'll also notice the integrated mounting tabs on the top and bottom of the station, which allow you to use screws, zip ties, or U-bolts to easily attach this to a tripod, or if you have an existing post or structure already in place. So again, very easy to install. So in addition to your newest, this is the RX3000 offering, and this is very similar to the MicroRX. However, this is the station that allows for the expansion possibilities. So in addition to the NEWA station, this is going to allow 2 expansion slots, which we'll see on the next slide. Options include an analog module for connecting third-party sensors, which will allow you to power these sensors as well. A relay module with actually 3 relays for some basic actions. Some of those can be basic irrigation controls based off of soil moisture sensors. And those can be triggered from an alarm from the particular sensor. Another option is a remote water level module, which was recently added, and that's going to provide you with some real-time monitoring of reservoir height or like irrigation canal water flow. And then the last module that we're going to go over is for the HOBOnet manager, and this is what adds the wireless measurements, as you can see from above, for a large selection of sensors throughout your monitoring area. So this is the inside of the RX3000. The LCD screen looks identical to that of the MicroRX because it is the exact same screen. What you'll also notice here is 2 auxiliary modules, excuse me, on the left-hand image. These are those expansion slots I was just talking about for the analog module, or for your water level sensor, or for the HOBOnet manager. All right, so what I have on display here, just some basic components of the wireless system of the HOBOnet option. The left-hand side, we have just the RX3000. That's kind of representing your NEWA weather station. But with the HOBOnet manager as an add-on option, what you're adding here is the ability to add up to 50 wireless sensors. Some of the wireless sensor options include temperature and relative humidity, soil moisture, soil temperature, wind speed and direction, rainfall, solar radiation, and photosynthetic active radiation, or PAR. Some specifics about the HOBOnet wireless sensors. You can add up to 50 wireless sensors to your RX3000 NEWA weather station. So on top of those sensors that we called out earlier, that are required for the NEWA operations, what you can do is add, again, 50 wireless sensors. So many times folks are adding temperature sensors for frost alarms, or a vast network of soil moisture probes to kind of monitor how efficiently their irrigation system is running and keeping everything on the farm running. The wireless sensors have an integrated solar panel that is recharged, that recharges the internal batteries. And the range of these sensors can range from 1,500 feet all the way up to 10,000 feet when utilizing the jumps. And I'll explain the jumps on the next slide. All right, so on this screen, what we're looking at, this is actually a local farm here on Cape Cod. And what we're looking at is a vast HOBOnet field monitoring system. This system is comprised of 20 wireless temperature sensors, 5 soil moisture probes, and 1 wind speed and direction sensor. This type of sensor that you're looking at here is commonly used to monitor frost alerts at your orchard or vineyard. And you'll also notice that these sensors aren't only placed outside, but there's also a high tunnel and several greenhouses on this property. So this system can kind of integrate across many different platforms on your farm specifically. Areas further out in your fields, areas of elevation, high and low, inside if you have a storage area where you're keeping some of your harvested crop, and again, inside those high tunnels or greenhouses. It's one system to monitor all of those particular areas. As you can see here on the map view, this is located in HOBO Link itself. What we're seeing actually is the battery conditions, but there's another view that's actually going to show you current conditions based off of this map view. This is just a screenshot, so I can't really switch to it right now, but this would show you, if you hovered over each one of these icons, it would show you the current conditions of each one of these sensors. And then Dan, why don't you go over the process of joining NEWA?
Sure, no problem. So I mentioned earlier that we have 14 member states. So usually what I like to tell folks is to go to newa.cornell.edu and just see what your state's status is. Like I mentioned, if you're already in a member state, there's no additional cost except for a station purchase to do that. So assuming that you're in a member state, or actually if you're not a member state, you can still join NEWA independently. But with an understanding that there's not going to be that local extension support or university support, but you can join as a non-member for a slightly smaller fee. But going back, assuming that you're in a member state, you want to make sure that you're working with Onset to install and link your RX3000 or the new MicroRX to the HOBO Link dashboard. Once that's done, there's a process within there where you set up a data feed directly to NEWA. And so those are the steps on Onset side. When those are all complete, you would reach out to our help desk. We do have an email, support@newa.zendesk.com. That's ZENDESK. So you would send a message to that, and we would finish the process on our end. So really look at it as a two-step workflow to get your data flowing to NEWA. And just on the right-hand side, there is a snapshot of our current member states for your information.
Hey, great, Dan. Hey, there's another question coming through here that's a user's wanting to know, I'm not a member state, however, I want to join. It looks like the user is in Colorado. Would the models for the pest or insect models be appropriate for use in Colorado?
Well, that's a really great point, and that kind of gets back to what I was saying about having local support. There's certainly nothing to prevent you from joining NEWA. I think we have the price set at $290, and that just really costs, it covers the cost of like administration and just making sure your weather station is properly linked and stuff like that. But we are presented with some challenges, and really if we go back to some of the apple insect models, a good case study is North Carolina. So folks down there will use a lot of our apple management tools, so people thin apples in the springtime to get the right kind and size of crop, so that's their primary interest. But when it comes to insect management, they really can't use our NEWA models because insect development is so different down there. Usually they start to see things blooming out and they start to see leaves popping at least, I would say, 6 weeks earlier than us because it's so much warmer. So if we're talking about Colorado, we do have things that are still useful, like a degree day calculator, which I haven't really gotten into, basic weather summaries. So if you're looking for information, if you're filing crop insurance claims, there's still a lot of interesting uses for NEWA, but when it comes to actually managing those different commodity areas, you do need to go into it eyes open. If anybody has more questions in this area, definitely send a message to that email address you see at the bottom of the screen, or go to the website, and I'd be happy to follow up with you afterwards about that to talk more.
Great, thanks, Dan. I'm gonna leave you. Actually, the next slide, we're actually going to open up the webinar for questions, and I actually have another one queued up for you. And the question is based on the leaf wetness sensor, and Mark's asking, is it possible to remove the leaf wetness sensor during the winter months? And basically, that's based off of past experiences he's stating with the longevity or the lifespan of the sensor itself. So for the NEWA network, is it possible to remove some sensors during the winter months? Would you recommend that?
I think for leaf wetness, yeah, I think you could do that. You just want to make sure, and especially because the Onset systems are plug and play, it makes it very easy to do. You would just want to have that in place in the spring whenever you need that information for management decisions.
Great, and just to touch on that again, since these again are plug-and-play sensors, it's very easy to add or remove sensors, and especially if you're going with the RX 3000, you may find that you want to add, even more sensors that we have to offer. And it's basically as simple as pressing a button on the LCD screen that we looked at earlier, stopping the station, plugging in the new sensor or unplugging the sensor that you want to remove, and then searching and starting the station back up. So it's literally a very quick turnaround for that. So thanks for the question, Mark. Dan, a question's coming in. I'll just read it verbatim. Could you share the information about the models in insect and disease, please?
Sure. Maybe we could go back to that slide if possible. Otherwise, I'll just describe them.
Sure, we'll go back to it right now.
Here. But we have really 3 different commodity areas right now. We have fruit, which includes apples and grapes. So within those, we've got for diseases, apple scab, fire blight, which is a bacterial disease, and then sooty blotch fly speck. And then for insects, we have a suite of 7 different species. What's interesting, so NEWA has been online in its current form for close to 10 years, and when it first launched, I would say all 7 of these were really pertinent. In the past couple of years, the experts and the extension folks are telling me that maybe not so many of them are of as much importance, at least in the Northeast. So again, just providing additional information to drive home the fact that NEWA tools really should be used alongside local expertise, so either extension or your university specialists, things like that. So moving on to grapes, we've got 4 diseases: black rot, phomopsis, downy mildew, and powdery mildew, and then we have 1 major insect pest, grayberry moth. Within vegetables, we have, for insects, broken down a little differently because we don't have as many tools, but we have cabbage maggot and then onion maggot, and then we have a whole suite of diseases, so onion diseases, and then solanaceous diseases, tomatoes and potatoes. And for sweet corn, we do have a new tool, Western bean cutworm, and that really predicts estimated flight completion, because in that case, people are looking for egg masses, which really determines whether or not they're going to make a management decision, like a spray or don't spray. Outside of these tools, we have a degree day calculator. We've got on every weather station page, like after you click one of our little dots on the map, you'll see that we have monthly summaries that break down by hour or by day. And then a couple of other things like our apple management tools. So those relate primarily to chemical thinning, either of the fruitlets or of the blossom, depending on which model you're looking at. So really a lot to explore if you go to the website.
Great, Dan. Another question for you. The current footprint of NEWA pretty much extends from New Hampshire down to the Carolinas, like you mentioned, and out towards looks like Illinois, Iowa. Is there any plan for future expansion or for some of those fringe states to become member states?
Yeah, these are a lot of really great questions. So really what determines state level membership is local support. So if you're part of a grower association and you're not in a member state, I would say there's a couple of different avenues to pursue. You can either go for it by having the association maybe pay that baseline subscription fee for everyone. Like that's not just within a commodity, that fee covers anybody in the state who wants to join. The other way to go, and this is it's been done both ways, is to reach out to your extension specialists or your university folks at your local land grant institution and try and maybe go for some grant funding. The state level membership isn't outrageous. Like I said, we're only trying to cover our administrative costs because really my core mission is to support New York growers, but what we do also works really well with other states, which is why it's becoming so popular. So there's a couple of different avenues to explore there. The one other thing I'll add is that we are getting more questions about Canada. What really limits us with Canada, and I don't know if there's anybody on the webinar today, is our 5-day forecast. Those are really an important part of the models that you see because it's letting you look out a day or two or three even reasonably to make management decisions. We use NOAA data, so that's the weather agency here in the U.S., which pretty much stops right at that border. So we're looking at different ways and in talking with Canadian counterparts to see what we might be able to tap into. But in terms of other state memberships, getting back to it, usually what happens is a grower association pays for that membership, or there's some sort of collaboration with the university, and a couple of folks will do something like USDA block grants, for example, to fund 3 years of membership.
Great, thanks, Dan. And another question here asking about total cost to be a member. And again, these are outside of the member states. The question is the cost only $290 per year? And I believe, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the cost.
Yes, that's correct. That fee has been in place for independent growers for several years. And I don't remember offhand what determined that cost, but really it's to make sure you're getting basic support, if something's not working on the website, or we do a little tiny bit of like first level troubleshooting with weather stations, and we say, oh, well, it might be just this, or, oh gosh, you should really talk to Onset support, for example. So stuff like that is what that fee is for. So it's $290. It doesn't matter what state you're in beyond that. And we do have a number of growers who have pursued that option. For locations that are in non-member states right now, I think it's we have one in Kentucky, we have 2 in Missouri, and there's a couple of others in Illinois. I think if we ever reach the point where, say, there were like 7 or 8 independent growers, I would probably put some effort into reaching out to those growers and trying to get something started to get the state level membership in place.
Thanks, Dan. And I'm just going to add to that, just in case we kind of breezed over it there, the 2 weather station options that Onset's offering that have the push services to the NEWA network are the MicroRX, and the starting cost for that unit is displayed on the screen now. Starting cost at $18.96. That's for the MicroRX again. That's the smaller footprint, easier to install, plug and play, up and ready to go in 30 minutes or less. The starting cost for the RX 3000, again, that's the expandable model. Many different options on there, and I'd actually ask you to call in to me directly, and we can kind of go over it like in a consultation. But the starting cost for that is in the $2,200 range for the NEWA weather stations there. So if you're in a member state, you're getting those NEWA services at no cost. You just need the weather station to get started, And then if you're outside of a member state, it's that $290 plus the cost of the weather station. So just to clarify that a little bit. And then another question asking about the transceiver for the wireless communications. Our wireless sensors are the HOBOnet sensors. That's our own proprietary technology. Actually, we'll navigate to that slide now. Give me just a second. So what you see on the screen here, this is an example of that NEWA weather station with the add-on option of the wireless sensors. On the weather station mast, right in the center where all the dotted lines are connecting, that is the wireless receiver. So that's taking all of the readings from your soil moisture probes that you have out in the field or your temperature probes and reporting that back to the main station. And then from there, it's passed to the RX3000, the actual data logger itself, and then it's pushed up to HOBOlink and onto NEWA. This uses a 900 megahertz signal mesh network. And on this slide, excuse me there, we can kind of see the range, which is going to be that 1,500 to 2,000 feet line of sight. And one thing I touched upon earlier, but I don't think I really went into too much detail, right underneath the third bullet point on the sub-bullet, we have, it says 5 jumps expand the system from 7,500 to 10,000 feet line of sight. And then I'm going to forward the slide to the map feature here. All right, so if you take a look in the upper left-hand corner of the screen here on the map, you're going to see a wind speed, a soil moisture, and a temperature sensor. The temperature sensor is actually, both the wind speed and the soil moisture probe, the yellow lines are going right back to the very center where the data logger is located. The temperature probe, however, is actually bouncing its signal off the 3 lower sensors and then bouncing back too. So that's an example of a jump. So you can actually have 5 of those jumps. And the system that you're looking at here on the screen is, the distances aren't that great. These are probably 500 to 700 feet. But again, it expands out to 1,500 to 2,000 feet from sensor to sensor. So again, this can really expand really great distances out into your orchards or vineyards or your farm there. Another question is, do we need to pay for wireless connectivity? There's actually a couple different options that you have here. If you want to go with the RX3000, there's a cellular option, but there's also Wi-Fi or Ethernet options as well. And we have data plans that are no cost for the Wi-Fi or Ethernet. The cellular plans, depending on if you're just using, the basic data plan starts at $150 per year. And then if you're using, let's say, a HOBOnet system with, maxed out with the 50 wireless sensors, the maximum data plan cost that you're going to have per year for that is $350 per year. So our focus really isn't to try to make money off of the data plans itself. That really just covers the cost of the cellular or the SIM card and the cellular service. But there are options for the RX3000 for a no-cost data plan with the Wi-Fi or Ethernet options. The MicroRX, however, is cellular only. And again, that is designed for easy plug-and-play operation with very minimal setup. You do have to program the Wi-Fi or Ethernet on the RX3000. That can take a little bit of time, so we made a conscious effort to make the MicroRX a very simple, streamlined design and deployment there. So hope that answers your question on the wireless connectivity. All right, so I don't see any more questions coming through. On the screen now is my direct contact information. It's actually kind of hidden on here. It's actually matt_sharp@onsetcomp.com, and my direct line phone number is 508-743-3126. So please feel free to give me a call at any time or email me. We can schedule a time to go over, a quick consultation. Those generally take about 15 to 30 minutes. What I typically do is just ask for an address, and I'll use Google Earth or Google Maps to kind of go over your property, and we can kind of work together and tailor a system for your specific site needs. So if there aren't any other questions, we'll go ahead and end the webinar. And again, please feel free to reach out to me with any questions you have in the future. And again, thank you, Dan, and everyone on the webinar for joining us this afternoon. I appreciate it.
Thank you.